Okay, hi, welcome everyone. This is our session with soul stylist Kerry Wilde, who is, the queen of style. I worked with her last year in the Art of Woman group, which was a life changer. And I've asked her to come and talk to us today to give us a little lecture, because obviously this is probably for most of you, you're going to be watching this back as a pre-record. So we'll save questions till the end, Michelle. Anyone else who might join us. But yes, so thank you, Kerry, for being here. I'm going to mute myself and let you take over. So that's a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, so my name is Kerry Wilde. I call myself a soul stylist, and I'll kind of go into a little bit of the background of what that means. Right now, my work is really this cultivation of an inner union with self, and how we actually project that out through the lens of style. And really, I'll just travel back to where this work began. I've been studying kind of spirituality for around 20 years. I started in my 20s studying Reiki and became a practitioner of that quite young. But also traversed a world of fashion and had a career in fashion, from kind of leaving university after studying fashion. And I had this kind of really big corporate, career where I was climbing this ladder and traveling the world and visiting factories. And so really understanding the kind of world of fashion through that quite corporate lens, really, traveling to places like China and India as a woman from the West, and having to manage the supply chain in fashion. So my career started there, and then I kind of worked my way up until I was, of a manager level. But at the same time, I had children in between. So I guess I had these kind of mini awakenings, is what I call them, where I really had to look at what I was doing through the lens of sustainability, through my own self-sustainability. Was this, the right path for me to keep on pushing? And so this spiritual side of my life started to really take hold, if you like. I'd been a Reiki practitioner at the same time as I was a manager at work. So I was these kind of two people, these two spheres or fields were kind of going on in my life, fashion and then spirituality. And for years, it felt like I was split in two. I was kind of these two worlds. I had to keep them very separate. There was no wellness world until kind of, the last decade. It's really blown up. But I was called the hippie amongst my friends groups, amongst my, colleagues at work. And so I had to keep those worlds very separate. And, I've always loved dressing up. I've always loved clothes. It's always been a really important part of an artistry, really. If I travel back to when I was a child and think about the world of dressing up and being in my mum's wardrobe and, not being able to touch certain things because she had them clothed and bagged, and then going in and trying things on secretly, and actually I remember taking things into school and going to a school disco and wearing my mum's dress, and she knew nothing about it, and things like that, where dressing up felt quite you could become anyone through the lens of style. And so that was always really important for me as well. And so, a few years ago, I sat in a meditation. I was practicing Kundalini yoga at the time. And within Kundalini yoga, there was a very strong sense of this royalty, this real strong sense of, to be a practitioner, you had to dress and adorn in a certain way. And, wearing the turban, wearing all white, there was a very strong sense of this almost higher. I mean, I'm not in the lineage any longer, but there was almost like a hierarchical presence to this art of dressing. And so sitting in a meditation, the words adornment started to come through, and this kind of whisper of you are the art, you are the art. And that sense of, wow, I can have both. because through spiritual practice, I'd lost my way with my style. I'd really diminished this external presence of who I was. So I tended to hide and not really want to dress up. I felt that that was vanity. I thought that was the old me, that was the fashion me, you know, that was the me that wanted to perform and be in society and kind of climb that corporate ladder. So I'd kind of dissolved a lot of tendencies towards fashion and style. But sitting in this meditation, I really heard that this way of adorning was an artistry that I needed to carry forward. It was something that was quite natural for me anyway, but it had become distorted because of the culture, because of what I thought everybody else thought about me, you know, that external gaze. So I sat in this meditation, and you know, you are the art, this kind of real reverence for who I am as the feminine, who I am as a woman, and how the feminine wishes to move through that way of beauty, through the pathway of beauty that we all have access to, because beauty is like that naturally arising force of nature, and we all carry her. And so I started to then work, you know, my work was very much in kind of womb healing and yoga, and I was a spiritual teacher in that time. And so I started to move and shift my work into the art of adornment and teaching online courses in this way of adorning ourselves and getting very clear on what we have in our closet, what we have in our wardrobes, and really bringing this soul essence through. So, you know, a lot of stylists out there work on the basis, it's how it looks, it's about image consulting, and it's not necessarily inherent with the essence of the person. And so they talk about personality, but beyond personality is the soul. And so having, you know, really deepened into this, finding myself, and maybe a lot of you out there have done a lot of that deep spiritual work, but maybe feel a bit lost in the external and knowing whether that's really true. And so the work that I do with women now is to, you know, it spans across body acceptance and how to dress for body shape. So all of my knowledge around the industry and fitting garments and knowing how garments are made really comes into play in that. So knowing what suits that shape and that person, but also, so that's kind of like the foundational stuff, but also it's like the essence of that person. So it's the style codes, and we all have clues in our wardrobe. So I know I've worked with Alice before, and it's kind of like following the breadcrumbs, Alice. I don't know if you can, but it is kind of like, oh yeah, there's a bit of this and there's some of that there. And then it's expanding on what we already have. So rather than buying new all of the time. So that's a little introduction, and that's kind of where this work started. And, you know, I'll just go through a few questions that it would be helpful right now to contemplate, because sometimes when I talk to women, nobody is consciously thinking about this stuff, especially when we're in the spiritual sphere of everything, because it's like clothing may feel more frivolous, it may feel like vanity, or maybe you're like, well, you know, I found where feels comfortable. And so it would be really interesting for me just to read out these questions, and you can contemplate them later. You could watch this on a replay and do a little journaling exercise around them, but I'll just read them from this sheet. So how do you feel about your body? So how would you score your current relationship to your body shape and your image? And on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being zero clarity and 10 being completely incredible. And then thinking about what comes up when you tune into your body image. So think about the first response. What is it that comes up for you when you look at yourself in the mirror each day? You know, is there a response? Is there a bypassing? Is there a like, oh, you know, stopping you in your tracks? Is there like, wow, I look amazing, I feel so good? You know, how does it feel when you tune in to that initial body image? And then how would it look or feel to be fully owning your body right now? And if you like, Alice, I can send you these questions if that makes it easier.
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
Yeah,
and then I could share them with the group.
yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. And so the next one is, do you feel aligned with your true sense of style? And then, you know, 0 is zero clarity, 10 is like totally on track, and obviously 5 is an average. And so your true sense of style is, you know, this dressing from a place of being aligned with who you are and who you've become right now. And so a lot of the time, women have clothing in their collections that are, I call them old ghosts, those old hungry ghosts that are like, wear me, and they almost are the mask of who we once were. And just like a snake sheds its skin, you know, numerous times a year, I think it's 4 times a year, it's really about that shedding process. And as women, we tend to hold on for dear life to parts of ourselves and parts of our identity that maybe we've outgrown. And so this shows up in our collection to the point where sometimes our collection feels overwhelming, it feels stagnant. We only, the average woman in the UK is wearing only 20% of her overall collection. So when I heard that statistic, I was like, yeah, that's about right. Because if you think about what you own and what you have, it's, you know, a lot of time it's gathering dust, isn't it? And we don't know maybe what to piece it back into what we buy as new. So we want to think about our collections as a circular entity, that it's going to keep moving, evolving, just like we are cyclical beings as women. We are constantly moving and shifting and evolving. Our bodies are constantly moving and shifting and evolving, and our style is as well. But it's knowing you're kind of anchoring who you are today and who you are right now, and if that feels resonant for you. So in terms of your true sense of style, how does this affect your life right now? Think of your business, your relationships, your finances, and if there's a ripple effect to how your style influences how you're showing up in your life. So maybe there's things that you desire, but it's not quite happening. And maybe you're feeling, wow, I really wish I could show up to that. And if we think about style as that sort of sense of presenting the true you, presenting the woman that you know you are, then maybe there's some inhibitors around not being able to move forward, not being able to really shine and show the full magnificence of yourself. So just thinking about how, if that is having any impact, and if it's having an impact in the positive as well, if it's like, yeah, I know that when I show up like this, I'm magnetizing something here. You know, I feel really powerful when I'm showing, when I wear that thing, or when I, you know, spend the time to plan and dress and adorn myself in a certain way, then I feel so much better. And then when I'm showing up, you know, my bank balance is looking better, or my sex life is better, whatever the thing is. But, you know, it's interesting that we may not put style into this mix of like, why these things are happening or working for us. So if you could imagine yourself living in full clarity, totally on track with your life and your dreams, what would your style look like? So maybe, this might be about a certain theme, like maybe there's a more masculine suiting edge to you, or maybe, maybe there's a color that comes through that you're like, well, I would wear lots of red, or I would wear, the earrings that I never wear, but only to weddings. So maybe there is, something there that you're, again, not allowing yourself to be. And the next one is all about authentic self-expression. Do you feel like you express and show up in the world in full authenticity, or is there a part of you that you're not revealing? So this full self-expression, it's something that we see bandied around on memes and stuff around being unapologetic, being like totally yourself and showing up in your fullness. And the thing is, it's, there is a marriage here, there is a union, there is this kind of depth to that as well, isn't there? There's like the shadow work, and there's the integration of who you are. And when we think about dressing from that place of wholeness, it's a whole nother realm of dressing. Actually, it's a whole nother kind of energy and frequency that you're bringing in when you're coming from a place that's whole and in union, and then the inner can be in marriage to the outer. So what we tend to see is almost like a distortion of the cultural narrative that pushes through women to perform and wear things in a way that makes them think that they're being empowered, or that they are being liberal or free. But we can see that this kind of tribe's way of dressing is giving them a sense of belonging and a sense of safety still. So it's not pushing, it's not really coming from that pureness, that real sense of beauty that is just inherent and natural and blossoming through them. There's still this distortion. So I see it from, when I ran my first retreat with a really good friend, we set up a business called Awaken Sister. And this was back in 2016. And we were like, we need the long white goddess dresses for that retreat. Like, we need to have that on the photo shoot. It was all like, how can we, magnetize these women that are into this kind of witch energy and the feminine? And, it was like, right, we need those long dresses. Where can we get them? And and we did, I don't know if we did. Yeah, I think we did that. But it was really interesting because, looking back on that, it's like there is still, even in the spiritual scene, there's still a temperament to how we think we should look, and how that comes across then to the external gaze. And whether we, because really we all want to receive love in some capacity. And so dressing has become a point of receiving love, or receiving attention, gaining something. So when I work with clients, what I tend to say is like, how can we reverse that pull and kind of trying to pull the energy into us through style? How can we reverse that to actually give something as a gift? We're actually, when we come into that wholeness and presence with who we are, and we really know and find the keys to really dress from that place, we're actually dressing as a gift, and then we're giving to the collective rather than trying to take energy. And that's when it, that's when there's not, the distortion can just relax and soften. That's when the external gaze is not so it's not so heavy on us, it's not so heavy on them. We're not trying to demand attention, we're actually commanding our own energy. through dressing. And so we're like, commanding and conducting your own energy is different to pulling on other people to see us. Yeah. And that's when it can be really heavy for others to like notice you. And they tend to notice the dress or the suit or the necklace. It's like they tend to notice the pieces, don't they? It's like, oh, I like that jumper, I like that. When we know we're dressing from that place of expanded beauty, people are like, wow, you look good today, you're glowing, you're radiating something, what's that? Yeah, so there's a difference. And so that's what I'm kind of talking about in that authentic self-expression. And I know, like, I hope Alice won't mind me saying that when we worked together, we looked at the Venus in the blueprint of the astrology. And when we look at that energy and the elemental energy that's arising in the feminine, I link that into your style. So what we find is that is a natural inherent, the Venus energy is a natural inherent feminine energy that ignites that beauty within you, and you tend to dress in real alignment with that elemental part of you at stages in your life. And at some stages we can repress that energy and we can repress the feminine for whatever reasons. And the igniting of that spark and the reigniting of the Venus and just bringing it to the forefront, bringing it from the veil and out into the light, is a permission slip for women to be like, oh, wow, I can have those things again. I can reclaim that part of me that maybe didn't feel safe to express for many reasons. So it was interesting working with Alice, and I know that you were like, oh wow, I really want some of this, and there was attitude and there was, you know, a sexual energy to some of this, and it was a reclamation that was pulling back these powerful codes of outer expression that have been repressed or distorted. So I wonder how your style is feeling now, Alice. Are you feeling, because I can see you on your...
Well, I've made effort today.
I know. Yes.
Your external gaze, Kerry. I'll be honest. I feel like listening to this is a huge reminder of the work that we did previously. And obviously, I think, like, not just for me who's done this work, but also for everybody and the people watching, is we've all been through lockdown and got probably lazier and lazier and just want to wear, you know, the comfiest stuff and, you know, kind of put the style right to the back. And I found myself lately actually probably doing a lot more going out, doing things, and finding my wardrobe really wanting again. So I think when I worked with you, I got quite a few new things, or secondhand things. I got a bit of a vintage addiction going on there for a few months. But the stuff that I got, it almost feels transitional now. And now I feel like I really know what it is that I want, but I haven't got much of it in my wardrobe. So it's like this kind of constant growth, I suppose, and willing myself to really step up to like the Venus in my chart and kind of really build into that. And obviously you're here today, which has given me a big oomph to get a couple of pieces that I know are kind of missing. And also, you know, there's just been women around me who are sort of, I've admired their style and thinking, right, I saw this pair of trousers the other day and I was like, I really want a pair of trousers like that, but I kind of stopped myself and bought this lipstick instead. And but then I saw
the lipstick.
I saw a woman wearing the trousers, and I guess from a spiritual perspective, you know, the goddess wants me to buy the trousers. But yeah, I have this new kind of relationship with style because of you and because of the work we did, and understanding it very, very differently. And I wrote down one of the things you said that I want to bring to the group is that commanding energy through dressing and kind of reclaiming our own energy. So I'm not sure if I've answered the question, but that's just my feedback from listening to you. I'm feeling really pumped again, kind of ready to take on the next evolution, I suppose.
Yeah. And I love it because it's a refining process. I think we start somewhere and we're like, well, this is inspiring me right now. And then, we haven't worked together for probably about a year now. And I think it's then this refinement that happens and then a new evolution. Yeah. And so we come in cycles. And I think, the Venus in our chart is really important because it's almost like an anchoring of that elemental self. And then the muse, coming through, because actually I was reading somewhere a woman that had set up a brand, and I'm doing a bit of a branding research exercise at the moment. And she's set up a brand that is like a luxury secondhand shop, but she's called it a really beautiful name. And I just researched the name, and it was actually Pablo Picasso's muse. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, beautiful name. And then I was like, well, my problem with that is that I'm teaching women to be their own muse. And I think that, that inspiration board that we were looking at, as in really bringing the muse energy in as like these divine, you might call them higher self archetypes, but it's like what we see out there as inspiration is probably a part of us, a part of our energy. And so we're attracted to that. And that means that it's a part of us already. And so the trousers, they're yours. But it's really like whatever those trousers were conjuring up for you, what was the quality of them, what was the essence of them? It's more about the energy of that piece, isn't it, than necessarily the piece itself on its own.
So yeah, skin tight leather pants. I just need them.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, I want to see you in those. And that is that energy of those, isn't it? It's like, wow, it's a bit of danger. It's a bit of, can I be professional and wear my tight leather pants? It's great. Yeah, exactly. So it's like this tying together of something that we see as maybe a commodity piece, or, a piece of clothing holds its own energy. It really does. It's like when we charge a crystal, or we give energy and intention to something that's sentimental. It's the same intentionality we want to bring into the garments that we own. So that same sense of charging up these clothes so they actually feel more powerful. And in Art of Woman, we talked a lot about symbiology and how we could maybe have symbols that were hidden within our clothing. And, I teach a lot about the Egyptians and how they adorned, and the talisman that were very prevalent to them, and actually that imbibing and wrapping of these adornment pieces within garments, and how that then holds and carries itself. But we see that vibrancy and that texture and quality and essence in color. And so it might just be color that we're really attracted to, that we want to bring more in. And so, when we think about our collections, and you talked a little bit that you're moving again to something, and it's not that those other pieces aren't quite right. We want to think about that circular economy, because I do teach a lot about sustainability as well. We want to think about, how do we pass those on? How do we gift those to friends, or do a swap shop, or sell those on Vinted or Vestiaire or wherever, and then think about making space for this newness that wants to come in, and really consciously bringing that piece in, knowing that there's wearability in that piece. So are you going to wear it 30 times is like one of the benchmark rules before you consider purchasing it. And what are you going to wear it with? So thinking of that outfit building, and have I got enough basics? Am I top heavy? Do I need more bottoms? What is it that I actually need in my collection? So thinking about your collection in a practical sense, one that mirrors your lifestyle, is just as important as this spiritual side and the energy of the pieces. They both go hand in hand, or else we end up with a collection that is a frivolous, amazing collection that we're like, I wouldn't dare wear that into a supermarket. I don't even want to wear any of that out. But you've got amazing pieces that you feel are reflective. We want to balance. We want to have both. So yeah, it was really interesting hearing you and just knowing that this work is never done. You know, it is an evolution of the woman that we are becoming all of the time. And yeah, so just to touch on the art of adorning ourselves, you know, we've touched a little bit on frequency and energy and commanding. When we think of the word adornment, a lot of people think of jewelry actually. And so we think of something that is, you know, like a piece of jewelry that we're adorning ourselves with. It's very special. If we can bring in this art of adornment into our day-to-day and make and cultivate space for even just dressing. So many women that I work with, how I say, what is your dressing routine like? And they're like, I just get dressed in about 3 minutes, you know. And so I say, well, can you extend the time that you give yourself to get dressed in the mornings? Can you start to extend the time that you're actually seeing yourself in the mirror each day? So a lot of women, and including me, you know, I'm a busy single, you know, I was a single mother, actually I'm living with my partner now, but busy mother of 2, and it hasn't been easy to kind of get these practices going, and sometimes I don't do them, I haven't got time. But if we can set in some more time of these devotional practices, they ripple into our everyday. So we don't have to do so much of the work each day. So if we can set time to really, you know, maybe it's on a Sunday morning and you're like, I'm going to spend, you know, an hour and a half. I'm going to see what's in my collection. I'm going to take time to, you know, massage my body with some body oil. I'm going to look at my body in the mirror and really see, you know, who I am today, the woman I am, the body I have. And the more and more we can build the muscle and flex that muscle of intimacy with ourselves, the more that we rely less on what he said, she said, looking for validation from anybody else, but our own gaze. And that concept and how I see that, because I see that as the artist and the muse, and I see that you are the artist and the muse. You're both. You don't have to rely on Pablo Picasso to see you and tell you you're beautiful and put you on a painting, to know that you're as inspiring and incredible and magnificent as a woman to just be, you know? So the more we can see ourselves each day, and that might be catching your mirror in the reflection as you're doing your teeth and holding your gaze and saying, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? That might be like the simplest part. You know, the other stage, you know, the kind of far-reaching maybe stage of the spectrum would be, you know, being naked, dancing in the mirror, rubbing body oil all over yourself and really enjoying that moment with yourself, you know, that intimacy of listening to your favorite song, feeling free, but also seeing the reflection of your own body moving in time and space. And so the more and more we can develop that intimacy, the more the external gaze drops away and the toxic gaze drops away. And if people say comments or we don't feel so safe, we can go back to that intimate practice with self. Because, you know, it starts with you and you. And that's where all of this starts. You know, it's that inner union with self to then feel safe enough to dress how you really want to dress, wear the piece that may be showing parts of your body that you were told not to show, and really revealing this, you know, this essence of who you really are and expanding into that and feeling good. So intimacy is a massive part of this work. And are there any questions about that? No. Is everybody practicing these kind of things now? I wonder. Are you, how's it going with intimacy practice? Do you do this, or is it something that feels foreign?
I do. but it's taken me a long time to get to where I am. So my thing to really push myself to be accepting of myself and my body is I literally brush my teeth with no clothes on, which, you know, I'm putting it out there, but but you know, because you're jiggling or whatever, so all the agey bits and the blubbery bits and all that, it's all there, but I smile at myself. I have to laugh because, you know, it's one of those laugh or cry moments. But it's you've shared so many wonderful points, Kerry. Wish some of the others were here to make the most of asking you questions, because it's just, there's so much delight there. Actually, I might actually ask a question, which please. I hope for those who are listening back. If what have I got? One of the comments you made. How would it feel to own my own body right now? Oh no, do I feel aligned with my true sense of style? Now, if we're looking at ourselves in the mirror and we're going, yeah, I've got the chunky bits from having a baby, and, you know, we've got the lumps and the bumps and things like that. You know, it's one thing to sort of say, I'll go out and buy this new whole dress and whatever. But if you're just feeling frumpy, or you've been in lockdown such a long time, like Alice was saying, and you're not really kind of feeling it to be vibrant, what's some key little things that maybe some of the girls might want to consider doing to just start bringing, you know, from the inside out, some of those aspects of themselves?
Oh, that's such a good question, Michelle. Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the main things is understanding what your body looks like and really seeing your body for the shape that it is now, because many of us are living in an old construct, or they're in a construct that they deem as wrong. So maybe they're hiding elements of their shape, or they're feeling shame around their shape because it's not quite fitting into what society dictates is the right body. You know, and there's so much out there to do with body positivity, body neutrality. And we know that I think Alok Menon, who's an amazing transgender, like LGBTQA community leader in this work of adorning themselves as the way they want to be and dress. So born a man and is a they, and actually their way of dressing is this artful, way of articulating flowers and beauty, and wearing heels with hairy legs and hairy chest, and just very out there. And they talk about hate is hate is love that's lost its way. So when we look at ourselves and we feel that disgust, or it's not right, it's we can come back to love. And that is the muscle that I'm talking about, is really seeing ourselves through almost like a toddler's lens, this curiosity. Well, there's this here, there's this, wow. You know, it's that light touch of presence that's kind of like, wow, okay, I have this now. Oh, my boobs are down here a little bit. That's okay. You know, I've breastfed these, and, you know, but we are almost, so to answer your question, I feel like it's understanding what your body shape looks like now. And there are some really interesting strategies out there to dress for your shape that may make you feel more confident. And I'm not saying that you have to put yourself in a box of an apple, a pear, or a banana, or any rectangle, or, you know, all those things that we all know and we've seen. However, there is some really clear strategies about shape and proportion and balance that might give you that injection of confidence that's like, oh, this suits me. I know this suits me now. And we used to be in an environment where there were fitting rooms, so we could go shopping and we may try something on, and somebody might say, oh, hey, that really suits you. And you're like, really? Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know. And they're like, yeah, that color really suits you. We're now all in our silos, buying online a lot of the time, thinking, shall I do this? Shall I do that? And really it's, you know, going back to some of those old rules and knowing, like, maybe knowing where your body fits is an interesting strategy, because rather than feeling boxed in by some of those rules, we want to understand some guideposts so that we can maybe break some of those rules. So I feel, you know, when I talk to clients about body shape, we look at specific parts of their body that maybe they're not accepting, and then we do embodiment practices to bring that body back into wholeness. So it sounds like you already do a lot of that embodiment work, but it's really like, how can I feel more love and more whole in this body that I have right now? But also, dressing from that place is about some strategic ways of proportion and what is actually helping your shape. Because many clients, it's like some clients I work with, just hiding in shapeless things because they think no one can see them. So it's like easier to dress in that shapeless thing, or they're dressing in things that just don't fit anymore. And there's a lot of shame around sizing and things like that. So if sizes don't fit anymore, I would say, you know, put a little ribbon in your wardrobe, in like the end of the wardrobe. And every time you wear something, put it in front of the ribbon so that you know, I'm wearing that, I'm wearing that. So you put it back in front of the wardrobe as you're washing it. And then whatever's left, really go through those pieces with that sense of honesty and say, why am I not wearing it? If it's about sizing, I would say, you know, can you pass this along now? And you know, if it's not fitting anymore, and if you've evolved, you've had children, you've, you know, I'm perimenopausal, my body is changing. And so it's really honoring that we've got these rites of passage that we're moving through, and we're not going to be the same every, you know, every year. So I hope that answers everything that you touched on. Yeah. The construct of sizing is also a biggie. And I have lots of people that say, you know, I'm not this size anymore. And there's almost like a holding in that pattern of like, I should be this size that I was in my 20s. And you know, we are constantly shape shifting. Our bodies are moving month to month, and you know, we're going, you know, through our cycles. And I have a range of sizing in my collection that is from like, you know, a UK 10 up to a 20, and I wear all of them at different stages. And so I think if we can walk away from the sizing construct as something that has been put in to sell more clothes, and every single brand has its own set of measurements. And so, you know, holding ourselves in that paradigm of like, I'm not this size, is also one of those things that we can really start to break away from and liberate from, and create more freedom in our collection. That if it fits, great. You know, that's what we want. We want it to fit. We don't want to belong to a size. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Were there any other questions? No. So I might just finish with a little meditation practice that's just about coming home to the body and the earth. And at the end of this practice, you might want to be in front of a mirror if that feels comfortable for you. If you're listening to the replay, you know, you might want to kind of listen to it a couple of times, and really just at the end, there's an invitation to see yourself in the mirror and just see your gaze. You might just want to look in your eyes and hold your gaze for a little while if that feels comfortable for you, or you may want to just gaze at your body and just see yourself. Okay, so just settling your body into a comfortable position and placing hands on body wherever they want to land. Bringing the awareness into your breath and just allowing the body to soften. Allowing the body to soften and exhale. You're just landing here for a few moments into a gentle, loving space that's held in this circle of sisterhood. And this practice is really this light touch of presence, this lightness and gentleness with ourselves. So taking slow breaths and just taking what you need to land in this moment. Just knowing that you are safe and you are held. And also allowing any sensations that wish to be present to just be here. There's no right or wrong, no good or bad, no box to fit into, only an expansion of who you are to be here now. So just settling the energy onto the earth beneath you, knowing that you are free to move the body in any way necessary for you to feel relaxed and at home. So we're coming home to the earth beneath us. We're coming home to the body under our hands, this temple. We're coming home to this inner union of all of our parts. And this outer skin and expression of who we are and who we came here as, to be welcomed. We're releasing the hold of the psyche of the cultural narrative. So that might feel like some shaking within, a little shiver that doesn't belong to us. So we can collect any codes, gather any mistruths that we have collected along the way, and take a deep breath, and on the exhale just release. Knowing that this work is lifetimes. We're releasing the old, and we are paving the new, one moment at a time. one breath at a time. So finding your center now, finding this center of the circle deep within. And notice any sensations in the body. Taking your gaze from the crown of the head all the way through the forehead, almost like a beam of light traveling through the whole body. Back of the eyes, the jaw, softening as it goes, the neck, the clavicle bone, front of the chest, tops of the shoulders, back of the heart. This beam of light cascading through your body, softening, welcoming, acknowledging, and allowing and surrendering to feel how your body wants to feel right now. And as you travel all the way down to the earth, to the feet, imagine there are windows open under the soles of the feet. And your energy is traveling down deeply into the earth to ground. And now going back to the crown of the head, can you feel any places where your energy may be orbiting the body? Any places of stagnancy or numbness? Starting at the crown of the head, traveling all the way down to the feet. You may wish to place your hands on these body parts. It might be the breasts, might be the arms, the thighs, the belly, all of these inherent parts of the goddess form. These places that have been taken from us through the culture, can you welcome them home? Taking some breaths. To consciously bring love, light, gentle presence to these places that may be are not a part of the whole for whatever reason. Maybe you need to move the body to allow this frequency to move into you. This empowered frequency of wholeness. How does it feel to be whole in your body? And what is the mood? What is the mood that wishes to arise from your delicious form today? And this mood might be a color, a part of your heritage that has been forgotten, a vision of self, fully in her presence, fully in her body. So allowing this energy of wholeness, of union to move into you. Maybe circling the hips. Breathing her in. Maybe hugging your body a little bit tighter and anointing your body with the presence it deserves. And to complete this practice, placing hands back on the body at a place that feels like home. And affirming a part of your beauty that you haven't maybe acknowledged today. With the words, I am. And this could be, I am whole. I am radiating beauty. I am a powerful woman. And just allow this affirmation to play like a mantra, resounding through your body. Not just in your mind, can you take it down and in, drinking your own medicine. So when you're ready, just starting to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, take a slow breath into the belly and release the jaw. You can start to open the eyes, reorienting yourself back to your space, back to the room, feeling refreshed. And looking down, looking up, looking at maybe pictures, mirrors, anything that's in your room, like inanimate objects, just coming into presence with the inner and the outer. And then coming back to the screen. And thank you. Thank you for your presence today. Thank you, Michelle, for coming as a guest. And thank you, Alice, for inviting me. And if you have any other questions, feel free to either ask through Alice, or you can go to my website, which is Kerry Wilde with an E and a Y, KERRYWILDE.com. And you'll find me there.
I will share all your details on our
Oh yeah.
And I will highly recommend everybody checks you out, maybe, you know, encourages people to purchase a session with you as a Christmas present to self, because it
oh yeah.
the work I did with you was life-changing, and I've just found my eye settling on my wardrobe and thinking it's time to revisit you. So thank you for today's session. It's so powerful, and I'm gonna like force everyone to make sure they all come and watch back, which I know many of them will do anyway. So
amazing.
So thank you, Kerry.
Thank you, Alice.
Have a beautiful day and have a good sleep, Michelle. Thank you for showing up past your bedtime.
Oh yeah, thank you from Australia. Amazing. Have a good sleep. Bye-bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Love, bye.
Bye.